Calling the meeting to order tonight at 6:35. It's the NPRSA meeting for September 20th, 2023. And can we get the, we do roll call?
Yes.
Yes.
Board Chair McNeil. Vice Chair Dembowski.
Here.
Board Member Shrubnik.
Here.
Board Member Mead.
Here.
Board Member Arndt.
Here.
Board Member Zorns. We do have a quorum.
Do we have any public comment tonight?
I did not receive public comment prior to the meeting. However, we have several members of the public here that you wish to speak. You can please try to keep your comments to around 3 minutes, but go ahead.
Great. Okay. My name's Patricia Gustafson, in case you need to know that. I'm just an interested party from North Shore Senior Center. And what I wanted to mention was the town hall that's going to be in 3 different locations in October. And it's presented by the Advisory Council to the North Shore Senior Center Board. And basically what we do is try to get comments from our members in the community about North Shore and that kind of thing, and then pass it to the board. And so at Mill Creek on October 17th, from 1 o'clock until about 2:30, depending on how many people are there, there'll be a meeting. And then at Kenmore, October 18th, from 10 until 11:30 approximately. And then in Bothell, October 19th, from 1 until 2:30. Hopefully this is up on the website soon. If it isn't, I haven't looked recently. But it's just something that and I'm part of the advisory council as well. And so hopefully we'll get some people coming who are interested in North Shore Senior Center. They don't have to be members. They just need to be people who are interested, because we just like to hear, what are we doing well? What do we need to do more of? And what else would you like to see? Thank you.
Separate comment.
No, but this is John Dolan as president of North Shore Senior Center. And I'm excited about the construction projects that are planned for next year. We finally get our envelopes done. So thank you all.
All right, we can move on to the consent agenda.
I wasn't here for the meeting, so I wouldn't really want to move it myself. But I will if no one says anything.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda. This is Deborah Shrubnik.
Okay, I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Just do a voice vote on this. All in favor, say aye.
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 First action item tonight, the Cornerstone Professional Services Agreement Amendment.
Right. Hi, it's great to be here. I just want to give a little background to this. So Cornerstone is our architectural contractor that we have that's been helping us with putting together the scopes of all of our projects, and also doing construction administration through the 2 public works projects that we have going on now. Last year, the board voted to increase the amount, the not to exceed amount, to $400,000 in the hopes of us getting through the projects that we are currently doing now, which are the HVAC and roof on the senior center building, and also the health and wellness center building. So we're reaching that $400,000 not to exceed limit. So we have to do something here, right? We have to either amend the current contract, or we need to go back out to RFQ. I do want to add that the whole reason that we even had to increase at last year, is that all of our projects were based off of using our JOC contracts, which we know that we could not do because the two projects exceeded the limit. We had not budgeted at all for us to go into full design and a public bid and construction administration. As we know that it's very costly, right? Doing anything public works it costs a lot more than just going out and using our job contractors. So now we're asking the options are one to either RFQ for a new consultant or to revise the existing professional service agreement and retain Cornerstone. And what we're recommending is to revise the existing agreement to remove the not to exceed language. I just want to harp on that removing the language, it'll just keep us from having to continually go through this every year. But it also will, it's not, removing the language does not just give them free rein to do whatever, right? Like the scopes and the projects have to be approved and the board approves our capital repairs plan and budget every year. So I just want to be very, I guess, harp on that Cornerstone has been very good to us. They are very professional. They were actually under budget on both of the projects that we're currently doing. They work in the public works space, so they work with a lot of governmental entities, and then also they also. When we did the original bid in 2019 to retain Cornerstone, we chose them off of we advertised off of the MRSC roster. So, they definitely work within the confines of public works, and they give a fair price, and it's across the board on all their public works and public entity projects. So I guess so the estimated budget for Cornerstone through 2025, and this is if we're running it through the job programs, would be about $100,000 on the projects that we have for 2024 and 2025. But know that if projects exceed that if we can't get these projects underneath the 500 and maybe phase a project, like envelope project, we know it's going to be over 500, but we're hoping to phase that and break the project apart. Then we will need to do public works, and that will be it'll be more expensive. The Cornerstone fees will be higher. So I gave you some pros. Cons of not retaining Cornerstone. Well, we need to do an RFQ, which is a public process, and that takes time and resources. That could potentially delay 2024 projects. We really want to, start 2024 strong, finish the bridge out, start the envelope, and, having a new architectural firm to help us and kind of get them onboarding and get them to know our buildings. It would take a while. And then new contractor will need time to familiarize themselves. So I think beat that horse. So
just jump in for those of us who don't do Christine's job. Job refers to job order contracting, which is essentially fixed price work out of a price book. So it's really great because it allows us to move quickly, but there are statutory limits on how big of a project you can do under job order contracting. And if it exceeds that $500,000 limit that Christine mentions, then you have to go out to public works. Job order contracting usually only requires about 30% drawings. It doesn't require construction administration. It's a lot less work from our architectural consultant. But if we end up having to go out to public bid, we need 100% drawings. We need a construction administrative services on site. We need help putting together and issuing bid package. It's just a lot more work. And that is why we initially increased the cost ceiling, because we realized that we weren't going to be able to do sort of the minimal work through our architectural firm for the job order contracting program. We were going to have to do something much more involved for public bid. The reason we're asking to remove the NTE language, which Christine alluded to, is that since we aren't 100% sure what the upcoming projects will be, because we haven't approved the new capital repairs plan, we're going to sort of propose a preliminary version of that to you later tonight. And because we don't know exactly the scope, exactly whether or not we'll have to go out to public bid, we don't want to give you a number for certain, this is how much more it will cost, the way that we could last time. Because as it stands, we've received all deliverables from Cornerstone for the projects that we anticipated doing through this time. And on the budget that we proposed for that, rather than proposing a budget that or an estimated budget that may or may not be accurate, depending on whether or not we have to go to Public Works, we're asking to just remove that language entirely so we don't have to keep bringing this back.
So do we have any questions or comment? Nathan, do you have anything?
I would just, I'd point out that last con on the list, if we did go out to bid, that bringing a new contractor on board and getting them familiar with the senior center, that's a cost for the NPRSA. That's also a cost for the senior center. We have Cornerstone on board who gets us and knows our rhythms. And if we have to bring somebody else, they've been great to work with this year. If we have to kind of break in a new picture firm, and that's a lot of work on our end too.
Are you anticipating that all of those projects you're bringing to us later will be able to be executed under this amended contract?
Any other questions or concerns that
Do you need a formal vote on this?
Yes, please.
Yes.
you just read that?
We'll need someone to make the motion listed and then second, and then we'll vote.
I'll make the motion. Do you need me to read it?
No, it's okay.
Okay, I'll make the motion as stated. But I cannot second it.
Yeah, we have a second.
I'll second. This is Deborah.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, then all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Any opposed or
Abstentions?
the ayes have it?
I think, Nathan, we have you up next.
Okay, I'll just want to give a brief update on the senior center and kind of end of season where we're at. It's a interesting time of year. This is typically in summer, the senior center sees kind of a little bit of a slowdown, but we haven't seen much of a slowdown this summer. We see the community really getting engaged and plugging in. I was just sharing with a few people that we had just as many people join the senior center as members in August, almost as many as we had in January, which is really shocking and unheard of. So it's been busy and it's been fun seeing new things kind of come online. There's a whole variety of things happening. The senior center now teaches belly dancing lessons, and we have new art classes going on. We've also been doing some really cool programming, engaging some of our local cultural communities to do programming on site. I had some fun summer activities happening in Center 2, including a Brazilian Pomona event where we shucked 500 ears. A bunch of people came together to shuck 500 ears of corn. And then we milled that all and turned it into the Brazilian version of tamales. It was really cool to sit around shucking corn with people from cultures from all around the world and sharing stories about how to prepare food together. It was like one of those things you kind of dream about happening in community organizing, and it happened here. So it's really cool. At the same time, we're doing things like having the health or the town hall that Patricia mentioned, really kind of bringing the community to let us know more of what we can be doing and what we can be doing better. We're also doing things like we had a health fair here yesterday for the first time since COVID, where we brought in about 35 health providers and vendors for the community to meet with our members, talk about doing things like vaccinations and blood pressure checks and learning about different health services in the community. So a whole wide swath of programming still happening here, still going strong. We also just had a successful Capes for Courage 5K in August, that was emceed by our chair, Councilmember James McNeil. So many thanks for that. A successful event that was a lot of fun. And then we're still celebrating a little bit the passage of the VSHS, the Veterans Senior Human Services Levy, historic win. Thank you to everyone who worked on that to make that happen. And then I just wanted to follow too. Last time we were together, it was a joint meeting with our Senior Center Board of Directors. And I just want to thank the NPRSA Board for doing that. That's really sparked some great discussions and thoughtfulness on our board's part, thinking through kind of our capital needs on a long-term basis. So that's my update for you all for now. More to come in the coming months. But just want to see if anyone had any questions or. Okay. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
15 minutes. That's right. So I want to give our envelopes. We have a few reports that I've been waiting to present to you all. So we have the Senior Center envelope report. So I kind of gave you guys a heads up that there wasn't any particular findings in the report that was crazy or anything. So we do have trim failure, and we have our exterior facade is bare and air conditioned. The existing trim has failed and does not provide the protection in design, and the siding is generally still viable but shows signs of specific areas of rot and degradation.
You all should have received the full report from this envelope investigation, along with the agenda packets. You can refer to it.
So we can move to the next slide. This is just the scope and an estimate based on the testing and observations. So they're working to replace the trim and the flat and add flashings to shed water, replace sidings and sealant joints, paint the entire building. And if we do this, they estimate that our building's facade will last up to 15 years with regular maintenance and preventative care. The previous scope actually hasn't changed much from the bid scope that we did in our public bid at the beginning of this year. And so that previous bid was $771K with contingencies, and the work was planned for 2024. What's happening?
It's going to be.
Oh, yes, we can't get her in. I'm
All right, and so the next slide is just as the breakdown of I figured you all would want to look at this. So it's just the breakdown estimate. And so without the soft cost, which is like construction administration and things like that, the estimate came at 688. With the cost of construction administration, if we do, and this is based on going out to public bid, it's about the same as what we had estimated for. And like I said previously, I want to try to work. I'm actually working with Gordy, which is the company that runs our job program, on how we're going to break this apart and how we can fit it into our job order contracting program. So that way we don't have to construction administration fees. So that is that. Any questions on that report at all? on to the crawl space. So we had some water in the crawl space over at the Health and Wellness Center. And so we did an investigation there. The final findings show that the water found in the crawl space is groundwater seeping through the soil. Geotechnical report from 2002 shows the water table was about 4 to 8 feet below construction grade level. And it's looking like the excavation or building construction activities in 2002, 2006, preparing to build the building, reduced the level of the ground by 1 to 5 feet, meaning that we're actually in that water table. So, which over excavation can be observed at the footing locations. Slide. So the recommendation to alleviate the water in the crawl space is to install interior drainage system that would connect to the already existing storm drain system. So if you look at the graphic, the old outer line is the building footprint, and then the inner dotted red lines are the cells. So that's where kind of the footings cross into like these little cells that collect water or should collect water. Or not collect water, but it should drain water. But we have water collection in those cells. And so the recommendation in the blue dotted lines is to install a perimeter drain system, or the perforated lateral footing drain system that will connect to the downspout drains. And so it would just alleviate all that water and get the water out of there. But so this is going to be a pretty expensive project, just because we're talking about doing work in a confined space, right? We're hoping to also run this project through our job program. So the preliminary cost that we got from Cornerstone was $441. Next slide, sorry. Yeah.
Oops. Too far. It's on the screen.
Yeah.
There we go.
$440,000. So, of course, this is also going out to public bid. So if we do it through our job program, we could probably get lower costs than this. So our recommendation is we've spoken to Cornerstone, we've spoken to the senior center. And we want to, so we do have water down there. But right now, the water is not contaminated. It's just groundwater. There's no mold. There's no structural damage that's happening. The water has been sitting there for a year or two. So we're going to keep an eye on it. I'm going to make sure that there's, nothing that's going to impact our building happening. But we want to get through these next set of projects that are that I'll come up that we'll be talking about in a few. But we want to do this repair in 2025 and to utilize our job program.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that the thinking behind that, in addition to sort of it's been there this long, it can stay there a little longer rationale, is that this is not a project that's going to have high visibility. It's literally just installing drains in the basement, basically. So thinking strategically in terms of the next levy, we really want to make sure that we finish the highly visible projects like the envelope repair before we tackle some other projects that are maybe less splashy and exciting for potential voters.
All right, but there's nothing that you all have to do for that. I just want to give you the information and then just talk you through kind of our strategy. So yeah, does anybody have any questions regarding the crawl space before we move forward? All right, so let's talk about our current projects. So we have the senior center HVAC roof. We are 99% complete. We hope to have final completion by Friday. And we are $43,000 under budget. So, and we're on time. And that is even with the structural repairs that we had. Everybody worked really hard to make sure that this project went seamless. This is probably in my experience in facilities management and capital improvements, one of like the smoothest jobs that we've had. And I really want to thank the senior center, Nathan and his staff, for just being accommodating and flexible with us. Because it was a lot, especially in this building, you know, putting all new systems in. It was pretty invasive. So big ups to them. And at the Health and Wellness Center, HVAC and roof replacement, we are 95% complete. Final completion is expected 9/29, so next Friday. And we are about $20,000 under budget there. So I think both projects are running pretty good and on time. And I'm really happy with our contractors, especially in our Cornerstone, our architectural. Okay, next slide. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about the projects?
Okay, thank you and applause. I'm proud of it. On time, under budget.
Yeah. All right, so this came out of nowhere. So there's some easement cleanup that we need to do from 2020, well, 2013 really. So just some general definitions. We are the grantor of the easements. The grantee is the city of Bothell. And the tax parcel is there if you're interested. And the easements that are in question or not in question that we need to clean up are a water line easement, a sewer easement, and a lift station general easement. This is across the street. I don't know if you guys noticed, right next to the Health and Wellness Center. It's like a lift station there with little fencing. That is the tax parcel that we're talking about. So it is owned by the NPRSA. In 2013 or 2003, August 14th, NPRSA acquired 3 parcels from the city of Bothell by quitclaim deed. The city of Bothell, they looked to reserve the easement for existing lift station, water and sewer lines. And in 2012, the city of Bothell decided to make improvements upon the lift station. And that's basically when they found out like, oh, we don't own this. And the NPRSA owns it. So October 2012, Public Works reached out to the NPRSA to start the easement process. On May 30th, 2013, the NPRSA Board approved the 3 easements with the city. And then December 3rd, 2013, the City of Bothell Council approved the 3 easements, but the documents were never executed or recorded. So we are just executing and recording these documents. And there's a little bit of, just so you're aware, per the tenant agreement, the senior center, the North Shore Senior Center pays the taxes for the parcels. We did not, neither me nor Nathan, realize that parcel was actually owned by the NPRSA. We actually found out, me and Barbara, when we were talking about the crawl space and what, if we were going to have to do plumbing or sewer, because we didn't know what the water was down there. I was actually looking at the sewer line and I'm like, hey, this part, looking at the parcels and doing some research, and I'm like, we own this. And so then that leads to me, well, where are the easements, And so we go down this rabbit hole and we found that the easements existed, but they were just never executed. So as to clean that up, we have the easement documents that have been signed. We spoke to Jonah Long, who we use for legal services. We spoke to them and they let us know that per their evaluation that we should just move forward, the City of Bothell and the NPRSA Board. Since we have memorialization of the easements being approved by both entities, then we should just move forward and execute them and record. So we have the documents for Sherby Bill to sign. And then they've already been signed by the city manager and their council. So we're ready there. And I just wanted to update you all on what was happening there.
So no further action beyond the signatures.
Yep.
Is there further action on the property tax?
Oh, yes. So it will be, sorry, I'm sorry, I meant that was where I was going with that. So since 2013, the senior center has been paying the property tax on that parcel. So I would like to recommend to the board that we reimburse the senior center for the taxes. It comes to about $6,000. I can get the number, that actual number to you all. But I would like to, I think it's only fair that it's not usable. You know, they weren't using it for that time frame, and we should reimburse that. And that's a cost that the NPRSA should have incurred.
Is that going to be something that is brought at a future meeting or?
Yep. We can do that at the November meeting.
By that point, we'll have the exact number. We should have the easements executed.
Yep. All right, so anybody have any questions about that? Okay. Move forward. We're just going to talk real quickly about the RFQ for the community center. So the advertisement is up. We had the deadline for responders to submit questions last Friday, and we responded to those questions as of today. So just letting you know that the next step is the deadline to submit LOI and SOQ for September 27th. So we're in the process. We're hoping to have review and selection of semifinalists October 3rd to the 5th, and then interviews for semifinalists October 10th, and then select finalists and negotiate the contract. Hopefully that'll round up October 31st, and then finalize scope and fees November 1st, and then hopefully by November 15th, we can have an executed contract. So hopefully by the next meeting, this will be over, and we'll have a architectural firm that will help us with a RFQ for the senior center.
Kind of ignorant on what's been going on, but we had a good response rate on RFQ.
Yeah, we had about 6
Yeah, like 5 or 6 people
Yeah.
who submitted questions.
questions. Yeah.
So we should hopefully have at least that many people who submit the scope.
Okay. That's good. And then we had our job order contracting. So we actually contracting contractors. So we're actually trying to add 2 additional contractors to our job order contract program. We have 1 now. We can have up to 3. And so we went out to RFQ for that on September 6th. And we had our mandatory pre-proposal meeting this afternoon at City Hall. And so we have deadline for final questions on the 27th. And then we'll have proposals due by October 4th, award in November at our November meeting. And hopefully get that contract executed then too. So this will help us. Having more contractors available will help us get the jobs done. Maybe the one contractor that we have doesn't have capacity or time, you know, they're booked out. So and especially for reactive situations, you know, when we have choices. I think Deborah has her hand raised.
Yeah, just a quick question on the previous slide. I mean, I know I'm relatively new to the group. Could you say a little bit more about the youth center? I'm assuming this is not the piece that James Neal was talking about. This is something related to the senior center?
No, this is the one that Councilmember McNeil was working on. It's actually James and Rod that we're working on together. So So it's the Youth Center for Excellence. We received the $350,000 from King County to
Right.
do, yeah, to do a RQ for
It's like a planning grant, basically.
Yeah, so it's just preliminary to see, I forget the
Feasibility.
feasibility study. Yes, to do a feasibility
Yeah.
study on,
Yeah.
yep,
Okay.
that's where we're
Got
at.
it. Yeah, so my recollection, and I guess I must have missed this, that was going to be a separate organization from the NPRSA, but it looks like we're running this.
Yep, so we're going through with the NPRSA is running the feasibility study, but it's still kind of up in the air on if it will move forward after this, or if the Youth Center for Excellence, will be doing something with it. I think we're just, maybe Nathan has to, Nathan.
I can speak to it a little bit, since I'm working with the Youth Center group also, they are working on formation of a separate 501c3. But this feasibility study is intended to go out and advance that to kind of lay some groundwork for eventual work. So there is a separate organization coming together to take it from there.
Gotcha, thank you.
Great. I think we're good here. Any questions? Yeah, on the job order contracting, RFQ.
That was an RFP.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so let's move. So we just have a few things more. I'm gonna let Barbara go over the.
We talk slide.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is just sort of the quick high level summary of our Q2 financial report, which is attached to the agenda packet or was mailed with the agenda packet for your full reference. So looking at our overall property tax revenue, we are almost exactly on track as of the end of June. Actually, we're a tiny bit ahead where we thought we might be, just because of exactly when the money comes into our accounts. So there's a little bit of variation, but we're pretty much tracking exactly where we want to be. In terms of our total revenue, again, we're a little ahead right now, just because we got our grant reimbursement in June, finally, hooray. So that pushed us well above our projections, but it'll still even out pretty much to where we expect it to be at the end of the year. Last thing I want to show you with this is our general fund expenditures. As of June, we were a little below, but this graph actually shows to July. It has us pushing slightly above the dashed red line, but the dashed red line doesn't actually reflect the realities of what our expenditure pattern looks like, the way that our revenue one does. We know exactly when we're getting tax revenue each year, so we can give a pretty good estimate of what that looks like in terms of cash flow. We can't nail that down quite as well with our expenditures. So we're expecting, even though the number for July is a bit high, it's going to taper off again through August and September, and it'll end up in December pretty much exactly where it's projected to be. In terms of our fund balances, as of the end of June, we had $1,759,600 in our general fund. We had $178,605 in our bond fund, and we have exhausted our TOC grant capacity. In terms of things to expect in Q3, we still seem so far to be tracking on our revenue and expenditure projections. And for Q4, we expect to have that bond fund also down to zero, as we expend those monies to pay for work at the Health and Wellness Center. Any questions about the financial report? Cool.
Moving forward, so we're going to talk a little bit about 2024 draft capital repairs plan and budget. We wanted to bring this, in the past, years, this wouldn't come before you until November, but I feel like we need to start having the conversation earlier about it, right? Especially since we're only doing bi-monthly meetings. We only have one more meeting until the, by the end of the year. So potential capital repair projects that we have, nothing new. So we have the envelope, senior center envelope repair. That was budgeted at about $750. And then health and wellness center envelope repainting is about $100,000, and that's prep and paint. So, and then we have the pedestrian handrail repair and replacement at about $200,000. So that number is gonna, depending upon which way we go, it could be, we need to talk about it a little bit more, but the repair versus replace. And I don't know if we want to talk about that a little today. How we feel about the look of, if we want to keep the look of the bridge, or if we want to do something new and modern, more modern looking. That will help me prepare something for next time we meet and actually talk about the budget. That way I can kind of get some preliminary numbers for you all. But this is kind of the number that we had last year for repair. So this was just paint. But I know that we talked about, when we talked about it, there were some board members that were interested in a replacement option. And just to, I guess, put that all together, if we do, so in the handrails, if we do repair, we do have lead paint there. So the prep will be minimal and they're going to paint over it, but it's still, you'll still see, because we can't really do anything, right? We can just prep it as well as we can without messing with the paint that's existing and then paint over it. So, and that's a big impact to the senior center because we would have to close the bridge for a lot longer to paint, to repair it. Yeah, to just repaint it. If we replace, it's a much easier process. It probably costs a little bit more. I remember when I looked at it, it was COVID, in COVID, like in the middle of COVID, when I looked at that cost, and costs were a little bit higher. So I'm hoping that that has kind of tapered down. But if we replace, the impact is fairly minimal. It'll probably be just like a week, and it's just taking off and putting back on, taking a section off, putting it back on. We can also go with something that looks similar to what we have now, or like I said, we can have other options prepared if we want to do something more modern.
And I assume that depending on which option we select, that would significantly impact the price point.
Yeah. Yep. So what I'm thinking is, maybe I can bring the repair costs and then have maybe two selections, one that looks similar to what we have, and then something a little bit more modern for you guys to look at in November. Does that sound okay?
There's also, I'd add 2 repair options. We can either repair in place or possibly we have the option to remove the handrails, take them off site and have them sandblasted and powder coated in a facility that can handle the lead paint instead of trying to, we can't do the whole like tarp situation. We had
Right. The remediation.
So the way around that is to remove the handrails and refinish them remotely as opposed to just painting over. But that's going to, again, be a really, really long time period that we'll have to have the bridge closed to make that happen. Also, the cost of that is going to be more than the cost of painting over in place. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were, but when we looked into this last year, the cost of doing that was going to be very comparable to the cost of just replacing entirely.
Yeah. That's why in my head, I already mixed that.
Yeah. I think that would probably not be the option selected, speaking for those present. But I would love to see a couple of options for replacement personally and the repair.
Okay.
Cost.
Does anyone have any other thoughts about that? Are we good? All right, and then the next slide is just projected revenues and expenditures. So you all received the actual Excel book of this. So nothing, I mean, we just have the capital repair costs that we just went through. And then we have our estimated professional services fees and administration costs. And then just other expenses that we need. And then we have our projected tax revenue and ILA contributions. So it looks like by the end, projected general fund ending balance would be at $1 million. And that's, nothing reactive or us adding anything. So yeah, I think it leaves us in a good place if we stay within these numbers. And I think that rounds out our meeting. Wow, we did we did good.
Are there any other items that you need us to talk about for future meetings, or do you have a good idea of agendas for the remaining
The one
meetings for this year?
Yeah, it's one meeting. So yeah, the next meeting, we'll be finalizing the budget and the capital repairs plan. And I'll have those options for you all on the handrail. I think those are my, right?
We'll also be setting the levy rate for
Yes.
next year. Just so that we all hear this, sorry, don't want to be this person, but because it's a budget and levy hearing, there has to be much more formal and extended public notice for the meeting than we usually have. I can't just post it on our website. It has to be in the newspaper. It has to be all kinds of places so that people can see it if they wish to come and provide public comment. And what that means for you folks is that it's really hard to reschedule the budget hearing if we do not have quorum. So if it's at all possible for you to attend, please do so. And if you're not going to be able to attend the meeting, please let me know as soon as possible so that we can make any scheduling changes we have to make before the newspaper announcement goes out, so we don't have to do a retraction, cancellation, and new issue dates. I would appreciate that very much.
Can you remind me of the date of that next meeting?
15 November 2023.
That's right. Thank you.
Great. So do we need a motion to adjourn?
Declare it adjourned.
I declare this meeting adjourned.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Deborah, I see your note. Just to let you know. Oh, she left. Did you see her note? You can be out of the country on the 15th.
Awesome.
Sophie, that's meeting it.